Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey. I am Rob, and Carter here as well. How you doing, Carter?
I am great, man. Enjoying the great outdoors right here.
You know, we're kind of fighting it. We're forcing this a little bit, but I'm okay with that.
It's not horrible out here right now.
It's not horrible. It's not, like cool. I mean, we're getting closer. I mean, I think you and I would say we're looking forward to the cooler weather.
Oh yeah,
I think everybody does.
This would be a nice hot summer day in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, probably anywhere north of probably Dallas. But we're at 90 degrees, something like that. And for us, we're going not too bad.
It's not that bad. You know, with the shade up and everything like that. But
so we haven't done one of these in a while, but we said let's go out back on the patio. We got football on. Let's throw a game on, a good game. We thought might be a good game. Not off to a good start, but
off to a blowout start for KC right here.
14-0 first quarter, week 1 NFL, and we said, man, we've both been craving. We haven't had one in a while. A cigar. Let's while we're talking, and we're going to do a show talking about bourbon today. So why not smoke a little cigar, sit out back on the patio, watch a little football. Other than the higher temperature, it's not bad, but still a little hotter than I'd like. I'm happy.
I mean, I can think of way worse things in life than all of these things combined.
But we're getting close, man. We're getting close. I think a couple more weeks. And we're out here in the middle of the afternoon. The sun goes down not too bad, but
yeah, definitely. And well, the sun has come down earlier, so that's
a plus.
That's a plus, and getting a little bit longer nights, so we're not quite as hot. I mean, September, like when we're recording this right now, is generally a very hot month in Houston, where we're located. But you get some. What's fun is in October when that first cold front moves through, and you're just like, I just want to go outside and have a fire and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I'm never cold. Yeah, but it's nice to. We're still shorts, but have to put on a long sleeve shirt of some type. That's my kind of weather.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, man, we are talking about bourbon today, and specifically, I don't know, we'll call it craft bourbon, we'll call it distillery-produced bourbon. Is there anything else how we would kind of categorize
boutique,
this? Boutique-type bourbons, okay.
That kind of stuff. I mean, I think that the reason we wanted to talk about this is because we see so many names on the shelves these days that you're not familiar with, and you got to I think the noise is a lot louder now than it used to be. If you had your Knob Creek, your Maker's Mark, your Jack Daniels, this and that. I mean, you kind of know what you're going to get, and then you've got all of these other brands right now that are out, and they may have only been out a year or something like that. So,
and there's good and bad, right? I mean, you can look at it from two different perspectives. I think something new. I mean, when you talk about craft distilleries and craft bourbons or non-distilling produced bourbons, NDPs. Or is it MPD? Which way does that go? Non-producing
NDP,
distillery?
NDP,
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They can make something really unique and different and fun that you go, okay, this is cool to try. Because to your point, when you think about, we'll call them the big houses, like we're talking about Champagne.
Yeah.
Jim Beam and Wild Turkey and, Four Roses. I mean, there's certain profiles, Old Forester that and so when you buy pretty much any product, the profile's kind of going to be there as that baseline, and then you're going to kind of see, but what else is going on, in that particular offering. Yeah,
and I mean, the big guys, you'll see the single barrels out there, and that's where you'll get some real variation, generally speaking, in the single barrels, you get some kind of note of what the distillery is known for, but sometimes not even that. You just go, man, that's an oddball.
Yeah, way off profile.
Yeah. So I'd say what we have in our glass, speaking of the big houses.
Yeah, the big houses. And single barrel.
Yeah, and single barrel. We are drinking a Buffalo Trace pick.
Buffalo Trace bourbon.
Buffalo Trace bourbon, the 90 proof offering. And we're drinking a pick that Rob and I participated in with Ryan's Liquor last year at about this time. It is really good.
It's really good.
It's like amped up, like all of the things that Buffalo Trace is known for. It's just amped up.
Yes.
You know, it actually, to me, and I know it's not the same mash bill or whatever, it almost comes off as like the hints of the Weller 12 kind of dustiness note to it. Like some of the foolproof picks that kind of have that on the nose, kind of have that old kind of damp wood type of thing going on.
Definitely on the nose. And then on the palate, it's not real hard on the palate. It's not, but it's way more punch to it than on a normal Buffalo Trace. And what I get from the characteristics of it is what it is at single barrel. It reminds me of a Stag Junior.
We were lucky enough to try it at,
as a Stag Junior.
As a Stag Junior, and we requested to have it bottled like that, and that was not happening. But I do think that this, to me, it comes across as a higher than 90 proof.
Bingo. That's my point for making the comment. It doesn't drink like a 90 proofer at all. It's not 120s.
I'd say this tastes like 105 to me.
Yeah, somewhere around
all
there.
Of that, and I'd also say the color on this. I mean, if you look at the color, I noticed this the other day because I was comparing a bottle of that to, I don't know what it was, something else that I bought, and I go, man, this Buffalo Trace has got some darkness to it, And, and I know bottle shape and all that kind of, can make things misleading, but really, even in the glass, it looks darker. I mean, I don't know.
This is typically what, 6 years old?
6 years old. I think ours was somewhere in that neighborhood, 6,
trying to
7,
remember,
something like that.
Between 6 and 8.
Yeah. And it's just fantastic.
It does look darker than what you typically see for these.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, this is our warm-up pour. Tell the people what we're doing after this. This is our kind of, wet the palate, kind of get it going.
Yeah. This is our little teaser. And then we're going to get into, because we're talking more about boutique and sourced whiskeys and things like
or
that.
Craft distillers.
And craft distillers. So we're going to do a blind comparison versus the Calumet 14, 15, and the newest one, 16, that was released. These kind of come in the, 125 to 135 type range, I think, if you find them on the shelf retail. I know some people have them as allocated bottles, and some people just put them out on the shelf. So I think if you look hard enough in the Houston area, you can find them.
Yeah, I don't think they're that hard to find, to be honest with you.
I know some people put them on loyalty programs and things like that, and but yeah, I've tried all of these, and I've never done a blind comparison against them side by side, but I can say that I really like them. You know, just in general.
Well, I'd never had one until we were with Chris Rulin.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't heard that episode, we did our I forgot what we titled that, but we were looking at what are kind of allocated bottles and what's on the shelf that you can replace those.
Alternatives.
Yeah. And fun episode. Really enjoyed doing that with Chris. But you brought in the 14-year, I think it was, as a replacement bottle. I'm just going to throw it out there again.
Yeah.
for Eagle Rare.
Yeah.
And I kind of gave you a hard time about that. Then I drank it and went, this is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find this and get it, other than the cost, I mean, if this is
You're
on the
only
shelf.
You're paying 4 or 5 times as much.
Yeah, that's not bad. But it really is. That 14, it was the 14, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was absolutely delicious, and I think Chris thought the same thing. It was a really good pour. So now I'm excited because I've heard people go, the 14's fantastic, so's the 15, but the 16's going to blow you away.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see if there's a big distinction that you can kind of tell between these three. And you've had them all.
Yeah.
Is there to you? Do you remember them being vastly different?
I think I remember, if I'm going to really point it out, I remember the 15, I really liked the mouthfeel on it. It was very, oily.
I didn't push the button.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities. And then the 16, I can't. It was pretty punchy. It was. It seemed to come off as a little, almost like a higher proof, barrel proof type offering. So I'm very curious from a side by side perspective. Now the 14 is much lower proof, so it's under 100.
Yeah, I'm seeing it at 96.2.
Yeah, and these are 105. So you're probably going to be able to.
But sometimes that's covered pretty well. I mean, sometimes the product, just like we're talking about with this at 90 proof, you blind this, you're not thinking it's 90 proof.
No way.
So maybe this 96 kind of holds up that way.
Man, it does. This Buffalo Trace just comes across as all the things that you want, like from Buffalo Trace.
Okay, I'll be honest, and I know this is our pick, and this is going to sound like I'm a homer. I'm really not trying to be. I really am not trying to be. This pick, I've had, I don't know, 5 to 7 barrels of this as a pick, and they're okay. They're not anything that when they're released I think I need to get in line for or anything. Yeah. This is by far the best pick that I've ever had from Buffalo Trace bourbon.
For me too, I think.
I'm trying to think of. There was another one.
There was one that
a couple years ago that we had.
Dang, I know.
I think it was a Specs pick.
I think so. That was really good.
Really good. And but this one, didn't we have this and then we put it up against another one right at? No, that was the Weller Foolproof we did that for.
Yeah.
We need to do that with this sometime.
Yeah, we do.
See if it holds up as well as we think. But I think this is so good. I'm just so impressed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We did good.
We did very well. I think we did very well.
All right. Let's talk into because I think we have talked about this show and we've kind of created some lists of kind of put Texas in their own category.
Yeah.
There's just so many distillers in Texas. Like Kentucky, right? Not like Kentucky in the sense we have as many as they do, but Texas is just kind of everywhere you go. There's a distiller now from every big town from, East Texas all the way out towards El Paso. They've got their own distilling going on. So we kind of put that in their own category, but then we kind of separated it into kind of non-producing distillers that we like and think there's some value to, that they're worth spending a little money with and getting their product. And then we kind of said, there's also some that we don't think are worth it, and it may be some that we haven't even tried that we have that opinion on, and it comes down to price.
Yeah.
Taking that risk, is it worth it to try something at $80 a bottle, and you don't even know if you're going to like it?
Some of this stuff is like $200 a bottle.
Can be that much. Yeah, that's a great point.
That's not a. The thing is, you used to think to yourself, okay, well, bourbon's kind of like a value spirit, at least I did at one point in time.
Sure, I think it still can be.
And what is this? What was this Buffalo Trace?
$24 a bottle.
Yeah. So
if I could drink that forever and be happy.
So there's a lot of product out there that's 6-7 years old, which is Buffalo Traces around that age. It's a lot more expensive than that. Now, I know a lot of people can't get Buffalo Trace for some reason, but, just weird allocation stuff. But, around Texas, we can get Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, it's on the shelf
all day long,
that and Weller Reserve.
Special Reserve, yeah. Yeah, we get that. I don't think it's all that great.
Yeah, I don't either. Funny story, I was in a liquor store the other day and just looking at the bourbons, and the guy came up to me and went, "Hey, I can tell you we just got some Weller in." I go, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yep." He goes, "You want a bottle?" And I go, well, "I'd sure be interested." And he walked me down a little bit and said, "There it is." And it was Weller Special Reserve.
And you're like, appreciate it, man.
That's like on every shelf. I mean, not every shelf, but you don't have to try to find it. You're going to run into it somewhere.
Right.
So here in Texas, I just thought that was funny. He was all happy. We got some Weller in.
I've seen some people putting limit one bottle per customer or some stuff like that on it.
Because when you come up to me and go, "Hey man, you like bourbon, huh?" "Yep, we got some Weller in." I'm thinking Weller 12, Weller 107. Maybe I'm going to get lucky with a Foolproof.
Yeah.
not the green label.
don't get my hopes up. We got some Weller in. I'd be like, oh yeah, sweet. Oh my gosh.
Well, let's dive into it. And as you kind of lead us off with some distillers that we think either used to or still do, and I only say used to because there's one on there I don't think so highly of anymore.
Yeah.
Distillers that we kind of like what they're doing. We buy some of their product. We're not opposed to it. And maybe we ought to lay out some criteria for how we feel. What drives, what are we looking for in a producer that we go, okay, that's worth it, that's not? What are some key things for Carter? As I light my cigar.
Yeah. So my thing on this is that okay, if it's, for example, like this Calumet, right? This is all sourced. I believe that I think it's pretty well known that it came from 1792, from the Barton Distillery. So you kind of know what kind of product you're going to get there. And I personally really like 1792, so I've got no issue, with juice that comes out of there. These have a high price tag, but I'd say for me, the value proposition here is, where do you see 14, 15, and 16-year-old age statements on bourbon that's just sitting on the shelf?
Yeah, and it's getting more and more rare. So obviously there's been a few in the last couple of years that have been released, and they've been really good. They do carry a little bit of a price tag.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would much rather spend the, 125 you said, somewhere around there, for a 14, 15, 16, and take that risk on a bottle I've never had. And I think they're pretty transparent that this comes from Barton.
Yeah, I mean, they give the mash bill right on the front, too. Yeah. So, I mean, if you do enough research, you can figure out where that comes from.
So I'd rather take the risk on a bottle like that for 125 than some label that got their juice from MGP, didn't do anything with it, and it's, $40 a bottle here, but it's $90 because their label's on it.
Yeah. Well, and I'd say this, too. I mean, I think a lot of people look pretty highly upon High West, and High West really just started, I think they've just started introducing their own distillate.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, and they've always been very transparent. We get all of our stuff from MGP, all that kind of stuff. And they make a pretty good product. The other thing is their pricing isn't like crazy.
But see, that's kind of what we're talking about. On the Calumet, we're saying age kind of qualifies it to spend that kind of money. Yep. When we talk about High West, or maybe you throw in Smoke Wagon or somebody like that, now you're talking about what are they doing to the whiskey, because they're blenders. Yeah. And blenders is something we want to talk about in this episode, because now we're changing the distillate that you're sourcing, making it unique, making it different, hopefully making it good, but creating something that we go, hey, I kind of want to try that. It's worth me taking a little bit of a risk here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just trying to think of some of the people that just essentially just source. Like on these, to me, age statement is why you get the price you get. Not a fair comparison completely, but, if you buy any of the Van Winkle line, like, they're all $100, right? I mean, on the if you could ever find one.
100 plus, yeah. 100, they start at 100. Or maybe $90 they start for the 10-year.
Yeah, for the Wizard.
Yeah, for the Wizard.
but, if you think about that, and that's a 10-year-old whiskey, and, of course, Pappy 15 is, 20 and 23, they're well over $100.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's certainly some magic in that juice, don't get me wrong, but we're looking here at just straight age. Well, this is, 14, 15, and 16-year-old
Kentucky bourbon.
Kentucky bourbon.
I mean, it's not like this is 14, 15, 16-year-old Southern Utah bourbon.
Right, right.
This is where, when you think of what's the king of Kentucky, no pun.
Yeah.
It's Kentucky bourbon, right?
Yeah, right.
When you think about bourbon, Kentucky's king.
Yeah, and I mean, like Sam Houston, I think it's actually the same distillate, or they're using the sourcing from Barton. They also have, I know they've got a 14 and 15. I don't know if they have a 16 or not.
So that would be interesting. Do they do anything, or is it just a different barrel? Are these single barrels? This is 19 barrels. They're all 19 barrels.
But they do different releases for states. So these are all, I think, Texas releases.
They do that, or is it Sam Houston who does that?
I'm pretty sure Calumet does that too.
Okay, I didn't know that. I knew that was a Sam Houston thing.
I did know that. Let's see if it says that.
So that makes me ask the question: are they owned by the same company, the parent company?
I don't know. They are okay. On the bottle, it says it's non-chill filtered as well.
Oh wow!
So that's a plus in my book.
So here's my question: 19 barrels. That's 19 barrels of 16 year. Could there be some older stuff in there?
Good question.
The youngest has to be what's on the label, so it's at least the youngest in there is 16 years out of those 19 barrels.
Yeah.
Same with the 15 and the 14. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it could be older juice in there.
There could be.
Yeah.
But in today's world, man, how the hell are they finding that many barrels of that age?
How the hell did 1792 give that up?
Yeah. Does 1792 sell anything with that kind of age on it?
No, I mean, they have the 12 year.
Yeah, that's all I know.
They have that 12 year, and that's the only one that I know that they do like that. I guess, I don't know, what is the age statement on their, like, foolproof? I mean, is it? I don't even know what that is.
I don't either, but I'm going to guess it's in that 6 to 8 year range.
Probably. That would be my guess. I mean, they're owned by Sazerac, right? Barton Distillery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure are.
So,
who also owns?
Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
And what else? They don't own Blanton's, right?
They don't.
Blanton's is a Japanese owned or something like that, right?
Yeah, they just get Buffalo Trace to Sazerac to make
They also own Fireball, which probably makes them a whole lot more money than any of this whiskey shit.
I'm sure it does. Okay, so let's rattle off some, either craft or blenders or non-distilled producers that we kind of like and think are pretty good, and maybe we differ a little bit, but I think most of these are we're okay with. There's a couple we might have maybe we had a different opinion before, and now we've kind of changed our opinion, but just to rattle a few off, we've got Chattanooga, we've got Michter's,
yep,
we've got Kentucky Owl, the Calumet, Sam Houston, Nulu, Doc Swenson's, our buddy at Gulf Coast with Prideful Goat.
Yep.
We've got Bardstown, Old Scout, Bullet. So a lot of people are hearing these names and may not realize that most of these offerings are sourced.
Oh, yeah.
They might be hearing this going, wait. And one that always jumps out, I think, to people that when they realize it is Michter's. They're so well thought of.
Yeah.
With their US 1 series. And then, obviously, all their high-end releases with their single-barrel rye and their sour mash and all of that kind of stuff. They're very well thought of. And I don't think, if you're kind of a novice getting into this, I don't think a lot of people come into it or even been into it for a year or two, they probably still don't know that that's sourced whiskey.
Well, yeah. I mean, and if you think about it, they have 25-year-old age-stated stuff. Not that you're ever going to find that.
20.
And 20. I mean, they haven't been around that long.
Yeah.
So, but they're one of those that's sourced, but they're not very transparent about it at all. I don't think.
And I don't blame them.
I'm kind of with you. I can see the benefit of each, particularly if I think it's more of a benefit if your ultimate goal is to make your own distillate.
Sure.
To say, hey, we're sourcing from MGP. We plan on making our own distillate, but we obviously have to make money before we can, because you just don't make whiskey and put it out there.
Yep. For me, when I say I want distillers to be transparent about whether they're distilling or not, and really I think, where it becomes confusing is if it's in the same state that they're bottling and everything, because then it says distilled in Kentucky, bottled in Kentucky. A lot of people just assume, well, they're making it, and that's not always the case.
Yeah.
If it says distilled in Indiana but bottled in Texas, you know that's sourced whiskey. I mean, it's just the label will tell you that. But just knowing if it's sourced or not is all I need to know. Where it comes from, it's nice sometimes to know where they're getting it.
Especially if it's a Dickel product.
Especially if it's a Dickel product.
I want to know when I'm getting that juice.
Yeah. But I think in talking about Michter's and in their case, I'm fine with them not telling people because all they're doing is really letting, and maybe, you know, people in the industry know where they're getting their juice. Maybe they do.
Yeah,
but
I've heard rumors.
I would think if everybody knew, it would be out more than it is in today's world.
Yeah.
But why would they want to tell everybody? That's just going to create competition for them to go try to, you know, get some of what they're getting.
My thought on it is that they actually are probably sourcing from a big producer that doesn't do a lot of sourcing. They got some kind of deal.
I feel like it's like one of those, you know, when you think about producing wine, you know, most wineries source some grapes. They might grow their own to some level, but, you know, most of them source a lot of grapes.
Yeah.
They have a farmer that grows them that usually doesn't produce wine. He's just a farmer. And they make a contract to get those grapes. And usually it's a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year type contract that locks them in for having those every year. And I think this is kind of that kind of situation, which is probably unique in the bourbon world.
Yeah.
Because they consistently put out every year that 20 and 25.
Yep.
So that means they've had these barrels that have been, you know, ticking up a year. Now it's 20, now it's 25, and then next year now it's 20 for a long time.
Well, I mean, if you think about it too, I mean, if you are producing or if you're able to get 25-year-old product, you must have had some hell of a contract.
Yes.
I mean, some hell of a contract with a major producer. Because I can't see anybody like Heaven Hill, you know, I've seen them release, you know, 15-year-old stuff, but I mean, they're saving that Heaven Hill 27 for themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no doubt Michter's puts out other stuff, and they have to because from this same, you know, producer that they're getting from, this is where they're probably getting everything for their US 1 series and everything else that they do.
I don't know where they get their rye from.
Rye's pretty good.
Their rye is unbelievable. It is really good. Even just the entry-level rye is good. Now, I don't think the entry-level rye's got any age statement, and I don't think it's anything less than $40-something. But you know, and that's your value there.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, do you want to get an Old Forester rye that's $22 on the shelf, or do you want to get a Michter's rye that's $40-something?
And sourced.
So, you know, that's something you got to ask yourself. I do like the Michter's product, generally speaking. You know, so I'm not going to bag on it too much.
But the question would be, I have both of those bottles. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, do I like the Michter's at $15 more a bottle? Do I like it that much better where I go, this is what I'm going to continue to buy? And the answer would be no.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, you and your own palate may have to decide that. Because I know some people who absolutely love that $40 bottle of rye. And think it's absolutely worth that money.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you can get, shoot, man. I mean, to me, like the Old Forester is one of the best things that for that money that's out there. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to try. Like, hey, this Michter stuff is not gonna. I mean, it's not like $100 or anything like that. I mean, you're making a spin to give it a go. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Big spider on your glass.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, Michter's is one we like. Kentucky Owl. Let's talk about that real quick. How do you feel about the owl?
So,
by the way, do you know the owl, thought to be the wise bird, is actually the dumbest bird on the planet?
Is it really?
Yeah.
What?
The smartest bird on the planet?
Probably like one of the African gray or something like that.
A crow.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Now, I mean, like, I know that, well, I mean, here's the thing about owls. They don't really have to be smart because they are a vicious creature. They can. I mean, there's a reason there's not many predators of owls.
They're pretty mean.
Well, they're really good at what they do.
Which is?
Which is get mice and eat them. Relight break here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you hear that pause because we are enjoying these cigars. I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying this cigar.
Same here.
It's been a while since I've had a cigar.
Same here. You know, usually I like to have those outside. And for the past, 3 months, I haven't wanted to go outside.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
all right, let's talk Kentucky Owl.
Okay.
What were your thoughts when it first came out, and where are you on it today?
So when it first came out, it was expensive, but it was very good. To me, they're batch 1 and batch 2 rye that have like the 11-year age statement on it.
Mm-hmm.
They were expensive, but they were good.
Okay.
I'm bidding on a batch 2 right now on an auction site.
Are you really?
Yeah. Yeah, because I have batch 1.
Just so everybody knows, auctions are legal.
They are legal. Yeah, they're a legal auction.
Not secondary. It's a legal site.
Yeah, you have to pay taxes on it. Yeah. That's the reason it's legal. But anyway, I thought they were great, and I think really I think their downfall was, Dixon Dedman just kind of exiting.
I think they were kind of going south.
Yeah.
Before he left, I think that he may have lost some authority, some level of being able to make the call, and I think he saw that they weren't doing what he felt should be, producing what he thought was a really good quality, worth it for the money kind of product, and so he left. And but ever since then, I think it's just nosedived.
Well, also, it was somebody bought them for an extreme amount of money, right?
Did they really?
Yeah, I think it was like, was it Diageo or I don't even. I really don't even know. But they got purchased, and then it really has changed.
And I'll say this: I don't think anything they've made from batch 7 on is horrible. It just comes to that, price to quality.
Well,
I don't think it's worth $200 a bottle.
I paid. I didn't pay. I went to a bar and I actually tried that Kentucky Owl Dry State. I don't know how much that costs. A lot of money for a bottle. It was like, gosh, I don't know. It's like $500 a bottle or some crazy stuff like that, right? I don't know.
Does it have an age statement?
I don't know if it does or not. I bet it does, but to be honest, a bottle that expensive, I'm not even going to take a look at it. I mean, same thing with like a Whistle Pig, some of the
Boss Hog?
The Boss Hog. I'm like, that's like $500-$600. I'm not paying that for a bottle of whiskey,
Same.
But anyway, I did have a chance to try that Dry State at a bar, and it was actually pretty good.
It was.
Yeah.
But not $500 good.
Not $500 good.
What would you pay for it?
If it were like $100, I'd probably pay for it.
Okay.
I
used to like when, I don't know if they've done these a lot recently, but the Bourbon Junkies on YouTube, if you haven't checked out their channel, you should. They're fun to watch.
Good guys.
They used to do a
series,
an episode. Yeah, what would you pay? And they would drink something and go, okay. And it was usually something that was allocated. And I think, a couple years ago, and it seems like so long ago, really wasn't that long ago, that the bourbon world has just gotten crazy. But it used to be that, a particular, whatever it might be, secondary bottle might be $65 retail and selling for $135 or $165. Yeah. And so they would kind of go, what would you pay for it? And it was a fun episode to watch. It was always they had 2 or 3 that they would do. They don't do it anymore, and I saw them talking about why they don't do it anymore, because secondary's just gotten ridiculous. And there's really nothing that, when you go, okay, that's a $40 bottle, now it sells for $5.50 on secondary. It's like, well, of course I'm not going to pay that for it,
Oh yeah, I mean that's just insane to me, But yeah, I mean you've got to me, there's so many things that are out there, you got to weed through it, and Kentucky Owl is just one of those that I think that I just avoid now, because I don't think their product is as good as it used to be, and it's also really expensive. I think those ryes are like over almost $200.
Yep. And I will say that, we talked about Calumet, we talked about Sam Houston. These are just kind of those aged bottles. They found these barrels. I don't think they did anything to them other than batching these 19 barrels here at Calumet. I'm not sure what Sam Houston has probably batched as well. And I'm also not sure about Prideful Goat, if they're batching. But I wanted to throw out Prideful Goat. They're getting 14-year-old Heaven Hill juice and bottling it, and it's really good. It's 100 and
I think that's supposed to be on the DL.
Yeah, well, not from us. I don't have any.
Yeah, well, that's what we hear.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that because you're getting an aged quality bourbon. I would expect a 15, 16-year-old bourbon to be over $100.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't have a problem with that. And I'll be honest, Calumet I wouldn't buy. It wasn't on my radar because I didn't know how good it could be. Mm-hmm. When we had that 14, I think Chris and I both made the comment, I'll probably end up buying a bottle of this because it was that good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I think some of their other offerings aren't really all that strong, but these releases have been very good.
Here's one I'm not a huge fan of. I've had about 3 offerings from them, and none have impressed me, and it's Nulu.
Yeah, same here.
I have not been impressed at all.
Same here.
And that seems to be one where, the kind of the whiskey tube community they seem very open to working with the whiskey tubers.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were getting barrels and releasing their own. And it just didn't hit with me.
Me either. I mean, it tastes young.
Very young.
And that's the thing. I mean, if I'm going to pay a premium for a whiskey, it better have some age behind it or something like
absolutely.
that, or something special behind it, a finish or whatever,
How about Old Scout? How do you feel about Old Scout?
I think it's a little hit or miss. I'll be honest, like when it comes to MGP, I like their rye a lot better than I like their bourbon.
I was just going to say the Old Scout ryes I really enjoy.
Yeah, I like their rye a lot better than the bourbon, generally speaking, when it comes to MGP. I don't know why that is, but for some reason, they just do rye pretty well with that 95.5. I think it's pretty damn good.
Here's one that you were telling me starting to produce their own distillate now, which is Bullet. But for the longest time, Bullet's known for getting everything from MGP.
Yeah. Well, so Bullet is one of those, I'll say this. Okay, yeah, they've been sourcing everything from MGP. But their pricing isn't like crazy. I mean, like
no. They're one that I'm perfect. That's why it's on our we're still on that we like them, we don't mind them list because their pricing is very reasonable on so many of their offerings. Mm-hmm. So I'm perfectly fine with them.
And they've done some picks that were really good.
Oh yeah,
I've had some like 12-year-old picks and things like that they've done that that's pretty good. So I got no problem.
Here's another one that I know has at least one offering both of us really like, and I can probably just say the proof and you'll know what it is. 111 proof.
Oh, yeah.
It is?
111.
You ready?
Yeah.
Chattanooga.
Oh, yeah. Chattanooga's good.
It's very good. It's not expensive.
I think they didn't make their own stuff, though.
They do?
I think they're distilling.
Oh, well, then they're doing a good job, and they're selling it at a very reasonable price.
Yeah.
Because even the craft distillers, that's my issue a lot of times with craft distillery, and I get the argument, they're smaller, they got to pay more, whatever. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
But as a consumer, I still have to make a decision on where do I want to spend my money and how much of, this sounds mean, but how much of do I just want to support them? It's not that much better than what I can get for $20 less, but I just want to do it to support them. That's a decision to make.
Right.
And Chattanooga's not one that it's a hard decision because they're 111 proofers like here in Texas, or at least in Houston.
$50 or something?
Not even, $42.
Really?
Yeah, $41.99. Specs.
Oh. And that, to me, competes against Blanton's very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just if anybody out there, give it a try. I think it has a very similar flavor profile. Now it's proofier, obviously, but it's got a very similar
flavor. Which is a good thing because Blanton's only 93. You're getting 111.
Yeah, unless you're drinking gold or straight from the barrel.
Well, yeah. Gold is what, 103? Straight from the barrel's whatever it's from the barrel.
Yeah, like 120 something.
Should we start nosing this blind we have?
Yeah,
we
probably so. Probably so. And we're just
40 minutes into this conversation.
Are we? Yeah. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Okay, so let's get into it, man.
So the last one I want to talk about on ones we like, don't like, I'll throw Clyde Mays out there. This is not the last one. I'm just throwing them out real quick. They're in Alabama. I actually kind of broke in with them into bourbon. They were one of the ones other than them and Hudson Baby Bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of broke in with.
I don't mind the Clyde Mays stuff. I don't know who they source from, though.
I don't either. I just wanted to throw them out there. Houston Baby Bourbon would be or Hudson Baby Bourbon would be another one I'll just throw out there that I know about, that I've had, that I didn't think was awful.
Yeah.
But let's talk about one that I think a lot of the bourbon community used to think was pretty good when we talk about bourbon and rye, and maybe in the last year and a half, 2 years, has kind of nosedived hard.
Yeah.
In my opinion, maybe I'm just in our market, it's that way, and it's not that way everywhere else, but Whistle Pig.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. To me, okay, so Whistle Pig's a weird one, right? They came out as kind of a premium rye brand.
Not just rye, though. Canadian rye.
Canadian rye.
Yeah.
And immediately, if you know anything about whiskey, you hear the word Canadian whiskey, you're already thinking, uh-oh.
There's no rules.
The rules are out the window, like everything. But they put age statements on it, which I can appreciate that. Honestly, when they started the PIC program, they had some really good stuff. I mean, man, some of the 15, 16,
Well, and to that point, you would get a 10-year pick from them, and it would be 14 or 15-year-old distillate. But on the label, it would say 10. But as the group that picked that, you knew that was actually a 14-year-old barrel. And it had something to do with taxes or whatever, what you had to pay for it, because the age drives up kind of the cost. And so that was pretty cool that they did that. But go ahead.
Yeah, but to me, man, I mean, I don't think any of their stuff is really worth it.
Boss Hog, come on, dude.
Yeah, no.
It's only $500.
I mean, I'm a baller, but I ain't like that kind of baller.
You are a baller. And just to let everybody know, you brought all three of these bottles today. I'm not providing any.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's okay. And I don't know, man. I just can't bring myself to buy any Whistle Pig products.
It seems like ever since
and that
Raj
piggyback
left,
is terrible.
Yes, the Piggyback 6-year-old is one of the worst whiskeys I've ever had, and I see a lot of people speak highly about it.
Well, I also see a lot of people speak highly about that Dickel 8-year or whatever the hell.
Man, you know what? And let's call them out, Grease and Will from the podcast, because they like that, and I'm laughing at them going, you guys are either lying.
To me, that is just...
Or you don't have the palate I thought you did.
The weakest sauce I've ever tried. I mean,
it's water.
It's like water.
It's awful.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan.
Stick with Tennessee whiskey because your bourbon wasn't very good. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, to me, Whistle Pig's just too big of a spin for what you get. I mean, like, man, they're 18s, like $300 or something like that. It comes in a fancy case, but, I mean, big deal.
Hey, boxes, I mean, that's cool to have on the shelf.
Nice to have a cool box, yeah.
Blood Oath.
Yeah, Blood Oath, yeah, that's another one, Well,
Booker's.
I'll say another thing. I'll say something about Blood Oath. At least what they do is they, generally speaking, have some kind of interesting finish on it or something like that.
Yeah, they finish it. They do something to it. So I'm always cool. I agree with you. Anybody who changes the whiskey a little bit, I'm okay with. Whether I would still pay for it or not is beside the point. But at least you did something. And that gets into Doc Swenson's. They're blenders.
Yeah.
They find old, unique kind of barrels that are still around. And it's kind of what Jackie is doing now with the old barn, or I think that's what it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Or Hidden Barn. Hidden Barn is what it's called.
But
so if you're blending and doing something and making it unique, finishing it in some other barrels or something, I'm perfectly fine with that, and I'm intrigued and may buy a bottle or two.
Well, I think Angel's Envy kind of I think they're using their own distillate now, but Lincoln Henderson, I mean, he was sourcing and just finishing it in port wine barrels, and with the rye finishing it in the rum barrels. So So, yeah, I mean, like, at least you're coming up with something that, that is more unique.
Same with Bardstown.
Yeah,
They source everything.
Blenders, yeah.
But they're blenders. And they do some pretty cool stuff. Now, there's some of their things I go are kind of, okay, I'll pay for that.
Yeah.
Their Fusion series, not bad, $50, $60, somewhere in that range. But their Discovery series can get a little expensive. I mean, now you're 120 to 150, something like that.
Is it that expensive? I thought it was like 90.
Oh, hell no.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well.
May have started out at 90, but it's climbed the ladder pretty quick.
Wow. Now some of them, I know some of their Discovery, like some of their earlier ones, like the 2 and the 3, they had some like 15, 16-year-old whiskey in there that they were blending with. And they are very transparent on where they get their stuff too. Like you can look on it and say from Indiana, from Kentucky.
Okay.
You've gone through it all?
I've nosed them. I have my favorite lineup. I'm going to call them my favorite noses whenever you're ready.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm good on those. But go ahead. You were saying they're 1 and 2 Discovery.
Yeah, they were pretty good. And
weren't horribly priced. You're right.
Yeah. For the age.
For the age. And that's the other thing I like about them. They will tell you on the side label exactly what percentage of what whiskey's in that bottle and where it's from.
Yeah.
Not specific to the producer, but usually a state. Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, and they'll tell you what percentage of it and what the proof is that went in to make that blend.
Okay, so I've got my nose winners. Or my nose winner.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay. Mine is 132.
Mine is the exact same.
Is it really?
Yep.
Okay.
The exact same.
132.
Which is rare, actually.
For you and I.
We generally don't.
One's really nice.
I think 3 is really good, but it's almost hot. To me, a little too fiery on the nose. Like it's 1 is a little bit more subtle.
See, and I'll be honest, 1 is a little fiery to me, but I get past that, and I like what's kind of coming after that, and so it really I get past that and it jumps up for me. 3 to me is really nice. 2 to me is a little muted on my nose.
Me too.
Okay,
a little muted. So let's get into trying some.
And again, these are Calumet 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah.
Kind of fun to. Now, obviously, you would think so. The noses are all very similar profiles. These obviously all came from the same place.
And we're smoking a cigar, so that just kind of blows your palate out of the water anyway. But but I think we can at least give our thoughts on it.
Now let's talk about some whiskeys. I'm gonna categorize these as ones I wouldn't buy unless somebody gave me a pour to try.
Okay.
And I was wowed.
Okay.
Because the price for these versus what you're getting, versus what you don't know what you're getting is not worth the risk for me, is the way I'll say it. And some that I have on my list are Penelope, Starlight, Breckenridge, Traverse City, Blom Brothers, Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
Ones like that. One in this list that I do like would be Redwood Empire. I've had a couple of their offerings.
I like that. I like that.
Them.
So I think that, don't they source their distillate from somebody and age it in California or something like that?
There's something unique about them. Yes. What it is exactly, I don't remember what that story is.
Yeah. I can tell you, I like their the Lost or the Monarch or whatever it is.
Yes. Lost Monarch.
Yeah, that one's really, really good. Another thing that I'd like to mention here, I don't think we talked about this beforehand, so I'm just wild carding it as usual. Orphan Barrel series.
For the most part, I hate them.
For the most part, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. There's been some, and it's really simply because to me there's been more misses than hits for the price.
Yeah, I agree.
The last one you bought, we did blind
it was
on an
horrible.
episode, and you brought it and asked me what I would pay for it, and I think I said $20, $25, something like that, and you agreed, and you paid
$100 plus,
and it was all Dickel juice.
Yeah, terrible.
I mean, and it wasn't that it was Dickel juice that made it bad; it was just not good at all.
It was not good,
not at all.
I hated it, and that bottle just sits at that same level as the last time we tried it.
And let me, again, go back to the ones I mentioned, Penelope, Starlight, Breckenridge, Traverse City, Blum Brothers, Rabbit Hole, things like that. I'm not saying they're not worth it. They may be. It's just hard for me to pull the trigger at, 70 to 80, 90 bucks a bottle to see if it's worth it for me.
I agree.
That's my issue.
Yeah, same here.
When there's so much juice on the shelf that I do like.
That you know that you like.
And even when you start talking about single barrel offerings where you want something that might be off profile, a little unique, most big distillers now, most of the bigger ones, the Jim Beams and the Wild Turkey and all of them, have single barrel offerings now that they put out on a pretty regular basis that we at least can find.
Yeah.
Same with Four Roses.
Yeah. Yep. I'd agree with you. And I mean, gosh, it's hard to pay that additional price. It really is. And I think my suggestion is just do a little bit of research, and listen to us, but we're just a couple of dudes that just,
know everything about bourbon.
Think we know everything about bourbon.
Think we did. Okay. I didn't realize we only thought we
did. But I'd say this, start with the big brands. And if you want to take a risk, do some research.
Yeah, I would definitely do some research, and I would say, as much as you're a fan of that's a cool bottle, you would advise people not to buy it just because that's a cool bottle.
Yeah, I would definitely say that is 100% accurate.
Then it kicks to just because it's a cool bottle, do the research. It's always nice when it's a cool bottle, and a fantastic pour. But don't buy it because I think a lot of people, they market that way for a reason.
Well, I'll say this. I think
wine does the same thing.
Now, Peerless makes their own product, or at least I didn't know they released their own product now.
Peerless is a great one.
Okay, so Peerless,
great one meaning a great example of what we're talking about. Not that I'm a...
Yeah. First of all, cool bottle.
I've never owned one.
You can probably knock somebody out pretty good with that bottle.
Yeah.
But the juice in there is I think on the Peerless rye, it's 4 or 5 years. It's not really,
but a 4 or 5 year old rye is not bad, but they still jack up the price.
The price is still $80 or something like that.
Is that all it is? I thought it was more than that.
It might be now. I don't know. I haven't bought one in a while. So
I'm gonna ask my best friend.
Yeah. Yes. You exactly. Ask that person.
It's not a person. It's Mr. Google.
Mr. Google, yes. So I think Peerless product is pretty good.
Peerless rye is anywhere between $100 to $120.
Okay.
Where you buy
wow,
it.
That's
it
more expensive than I thought.
Yeah.
But the product's pretty good. I just don't know that it's worth that money.
There's some places you can get it around $85. So.
Okay.
And that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a 10-year-old rye from Russell's for $60.
That's correct.
You can get their 6-year rye for $35.
Yeah.
Now we're in the same age category as this for $35 versus $85. You're talking about $50 difference.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy. So I don't want to knock on Peerless too much. I mean, do what you got to do, and I give it to them that they're more of a boutique distiller and that kind of thing. But what I'd say is, man, I just don't. Is the juice worth the squeeze when it comes to the money?
That's what I think it boils down. For you and I. That's the whole point of this episode is, the bourbon market, the selection that's available on shelves now is just ginormous, dude. There's so many things you can pick from. If you're new into bourbon, it can be kind of confusing on what do you buy, what's good and what's a good value. And we always kind of go back to, I think you just said it a few seconds ago, start with the big houses. Start with Old Forester and Jim Beam and Wild Turkey and Four Roses.
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels, fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. Think about this. What does that Jack Daniels barrel proof go for?
$65.
Is it that much? I thought it was $55.
Barrel proof, single barrel proof.
Okay.
You can get the single barrel for a little less, but it's 94 proof.
Okay. To me, that's a hell of a pour. Mm-hmm. That's a hell of a good pour, and that's a lot cheaper than some of this other stuff that's out there. And, one could argue, like, I guess on the stuff like the 1920, if you want something that's a little proofier from Old Forester.
Which is 115 proof.
Yeah, that's $55-ish or something.
$50 around here. I mean, yeah, I'd say, you should be able to find it nationwide around $55, $60. Mm-hmm. We get it a little less, but go ahead.
But that's the thing, I just start there. And there's a lot of brands out there that, I mean, man, I'd say, like, if you're interested in it, watch some of the YouTubers. Watch,
See, you and I are going to kind of.
Well, the thing is, like, if they're just nuts over it, then maybe I'll give it a shot. But if they're even saying they don't like it, then I'm out.
Do you see a lot? I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't kept up a ton with a lot of the reviews because I felt like they were getting into a lot of the things and liking a lot of things that I don't know that I'd spend my dollars on.
Yeah.
Do you see them saying they don't like a lot of what they're trying?
I've seen bourbon junkies say stuff that I don't think it's worth it.
Way heavily lean towards they like versus because I see them doing a lot of off kind of, I don't want to say off brand, but craft type of offerings.
Yeah, I'd say that they do review a lot of craft offerings, but they give their opinions on it, like and what they'd be willing to spend, you got to give the craft people a little bit of benefit of the doubt because they aren't, starting from where a Buffalo Trace is starting. They're not starting from a Wild Turkey. Like, they don't have years and years and years of stock, so they've got to charge a little bit of a premium. But, like, quadruple, yeah, I'm not going there.
Well, and I think that's because of where we are in the whiskey world. Mm-hmm. I think if we were 30 years ago and people were doing craft bourbon, sourcing it, because you have to. You're right. You the investment, the warehouse, the juice has to sit, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. You have to source to get something out to generate some revenue. I get it. That's why a lot of these craft places make gin and vodka and other things that they can just get out the door. I get it. But to your point, I think they're charging way more than they probably should be because they can.
Well, I'll use an example, right? William Price, they source MGP rye. I think, they're pretty fairly transparent on that. They're cask strength rye. They're single barrels, essentially. So I mean, they've picked some barrels that they've released, and I think that's like $70. So it's a bit of a spend. But I like those guys, and I'll support those guys, and they're locals for us, so that's cool. I think another thing that they do that's kind of unique is they take that rye that they get from MGP, and they'll do like a French oak, they'll do a honey or whatever, and so they try and put their own twist on it.
Yep.
And so I'm good with that because that's kind of unique.
That's my point. If it's unique and different and you're willing to spend it, that's fine. I might do that too. It's more the craft guys.
Yeah.
They're just making their distillate. And it's 2 years old, 3 years old, and it's $75.
I hate to say this, but that Eleanor.
Well, Eleanor would be one in that category, yeah. And those are our buddies over there.
Yeah, and I like the whiskey.
We don't even know them.
We don't know them, but we like the Whiskey Tribe.
Whiskey Vault, yeah, Whiskey Tribe.
And that's cool that they're actually distilling their own spirit and putting it out there. But damn, those bottles are like, what? How much is that? Like $70 or something like that? Damn, that's a lot. Anyway.
Where are you at on drinking these Calumet? You have a favorite yet?
I'm really torn. Two of them are really good. I think I'm actually going to go. My favorite is 3.
Bingo. We're the same. See if your second favorite's the same as mine.
1.
Mine's 2.
Oh, that's your second favorite.
On the palate, I really like it on the palate. To me, on the palate, number 1 has this bite to me that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, it is a little bit punchier, a little bit.
Where the other 2 are more refined and finished and balanced, and I like that on the palate, and it got a nice hug.
And again, I'm going to mention this. We're smoking cigars.
Yeah, so who knows how screwed up our palates are.
But with smoking a cigar, I like 3 the best.
I do too. And I'm going to call my shot just because it doesn't really matter. I'm going to say 2 is the 15-year-old.
Okay.
3 is the 14-year-old, and 1 is the 16-year-old.
I'm going to call my shot and say 3 is the 15-year-old, 1 is the 16-year-old, and 2 is the 14-year-old.
So we're the same on 1 being the 16-year-old, and we're reversed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do the big reveal.
The big reveal. So we keep going on Texas. What's some other? Steel Austin's one I really like.
Yeah, man, their cask strength was good. I tried it the other day.
And I'll tell you this, Texas whiskey has kind of its own thing to it. You know,
it's very young.
Well, and a lot of people will tell you, I mean, there's some distillers in Texas that don't age their product enough. I think Garrison Brothers is one of those.
Yeah.
It's like freaking syrup. Have you ever? Their juice is so overaged. Garrison Brothers.
Oh God, and it's so expensive.
And
too.
expensive. But just kidding aside. But still, Austin to me is one of those that when you think about bourbon, I think everybody goes to Kentucky first, and that's kind of the classic profile for what bourbon should be. I'm not saying everybody needs to be the same as them, but that's kind of when you think bourbon, that's kind of the profile you're thinking about. And to me, still Austin comes the closest to that profile of any producer in Texas.
I agree. I'd say they're the closest for sure to traditional bourbon.
That's what I mean. That's the profile.
Definitely. I'll be honest, I'm probably not the one to ask about Texas whiskey and Texas bourbon and stuff like that because I don't particularly like it in general. Some things are kind of cool, but for the most part, I'm just not a fan of the style.
Now, you said 2 was the 15-year-old.
2 was the 14 is what I said.
I said 2 is the 15?
I think you did.
Okay. You were right. So 1 is 16.
Okay.
2 is 14. 3 is 15. And I'll be honest, 2 and 3 are pretty close to me.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard for me to make and I kind of went 3 as my second favorite, my favorite overall, because I liked it better on the nose.
Yeah.
I liked them both on the palate almost equally, but the nose on 3 I liked better, which is the 15-year-old.
Yeah. I actually thought the 15 would win because I really, really liked the 15. I tried the 16 the other night. Fantastic. But the 15 is very good.
Yeah.
To
really,
me.
really good.
So,
and that's interesting to me because, when we started this, I said, I think everybody has said if you like these other 2, the 16 is going to blow you away. And it might be our beat-up, cigar palate.
Yeah.
But with a cigar, 14 or 15 to me are way better.
Yeah. I think we need to revisit it at some point in time, just give it a try.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you just had this as a pour on its own, like all of them would be pretty good,
Oh, no doubt.
So anyway, I think these are worth the spend. I think the point that I'm making here. On these.
Yeah, and we've hit on that based on age and stuff, and their quality, they're really good. So if you've seen these on the shelf and you're like not sure if I want to pull the trigger,
probably worth it.
Definitely worth it for what you're getting in the bottle. And they don't go cheap on the cork, man. They've got a nice wood finished cork that matters.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, and they have a Kentucky Derby winner on them.
Oh, I didn't even. Well, on 2 of them.
On 2 of them, I think the 14 doesn't have it.
No, it doesn't. That's pretty cool.
But this is kind of cool.
That.
So I think this is neat. And I mean, obviously, the Kentucky Derby is a.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a big horse race. That's
really?
Oh my God. Anyway, so here you go. You got. Boy, let's see who is on the champion 2-year-old 1947. Where does it say the name?
While you're looking at that, I'm going to mention a couple other distilleries in Texas.
Okay.
I think New Elm is unique and different.
Lone Elm.
I always say New Elm. Lone Elm. All wheat for the most part. I think there's a little bit of barley in their product, but it's really wheat heavy. Iron Root is all corn. They do some really cool stuff. Whitmire's here locally. You know, he sources. I think he's starting to distill, but he's had some offerings that have been pretty good.
I like the single malt.
The single malt, and that's something about Texas. When you talk about balconies, you know, I think they do single malts. I think Texas in general can do single malts really well.
Yeah.
And bourbons, okay, some of them.
Right. I'm definitely more on the single malt train. So yeah, this 16 has citation on it. I guess the 2-year-old champion of 1947. And then let's see, it even tells you who the trainer and the jockey are on there too. That's nice. Kind of cool. And this one, the 15-year-old has got, let's see, Whirl Away. And I guess that was the winner in 1941. So that's kind of cool. I like that they're kind of putting the heritage of the race on the bottle. That's neat.
I like the bottle shape. I like the label.
It's a Wizard Pappy bottle.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe same cork too.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's all the Pappy Van Winkles are in that bottle.
Yeah. But anyway, that's our show today, Carter. Just talking about kind of craft, boutique, non-distilled producers, you know, that are that we like, that we don't like, why. And there's none really that I would say I hate their juice other than probably Whistle Pig now. I mean, hate's a strong word. I'm not a fan of their juice. Who else do we say we're not a fan of their juice? With the Nulu?
Nulu, not a huge
juice,
fan.
But,
I mean, I think what's interesting is, like, I don't know if you've had any of the Blue Note stuff.
I have not. Again, it's hard for me to spend the money on it. They're doing so many picks, all these.
And I'm pretty sure most of it's Dickel.
It is.
For some reason, that Dickel tastes better. I don't know what, and I don't like Dickel product at all.
So you've had the Blue Note.
Yeah, and it's not bad.
Okay, there's a lot of picks coming from them. Again, one of those that are working with a lot of the whiskey tubers and stuff, and groups in general that they're giving some barrels.
Oh, I mean, I even forgot to mention the Barrel Craft Spirits. That's all sourced.
And that's more blending.
That's more blending.
So they fall into the Doc Swensons, the Bardstown kind of category.
Finishing, blending, those kind of things like that.
But they make some good stuff, and they can be kind of hit or miss too, though.
Yeah, it's true.
But what whiskey isn't hit or miss, right? Mm-hmm, so there's but cost-wise, barrel's not cheap.
Mm-mm.
They're pretty spendy, and he's giving them because he is getting a nice drag off.
Yeah, I am. I'm doing that. I'm trying to catch up with Rob here. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of confusing things. But I think the message here is start with the stuff that you know.
Yep.
And if you want to branch out, just buyer beware.
And I'd also say make friends with some people, you know, in your whiskey community that have do some bottle shares and try some of these things. You know, try to share, you know, somebody pull the trigger on something, try to get a sample of it. Mm-hmm. And then you can see if you like. If you do, go buy a bottle. There's nothing wrong with supporting it. It's just hard to pull the trigger until you know if you like it or not.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly, man.
Because it is a little pricier.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, that's our show, man.
Cool.
Always fun.
Yeah, dude.
And even though we're leaking a little bit back here, I'm still not disappointed that we recorded in the backyard.
Yeah, me either.
Cigar is fantastic. I'm enjoying that. A few bourbons. Football's on. So it's been a good afternoon.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
All right, thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.
Cheers, everybody.